Chosen one. They want you to leave this planet because your existence disrupts their order. The equilibrium was disturbed as soon as you arrived. The masks dropped. The bogus power holders started to shake. You are not a normal person. You are the living incarnation of the truth. You are the truth itself. They want you to go, because as long as you remain, the falsehoods will crumble. The shackles will shatter. The system will unravel. But you have a place here. This land is where an awakening starts. In your name, do not run. Do not go, because the world has waited for you. The stage is yours now. So, write 777 in the comments. The shift is evident. What previously seemed inconceivable now emanates from your own being. You have entered a place where nothing is beyond your grasp. With each choice, you create the world that others considered immutable. You are no longer restricted by bodily constraints. Your impact extends beyond the tangible, touching the invisible forces that control life in every location you inhabit. A quiet revolution ensues, as if reality itself bends to your will. You walk, and the earth moves under you. Your determination determines the course, and no one dare to defy the inevitable. The atmosphere around you has become too strong to ignore. It appeals to every soul. Everyone is driven to acknowledge the power you now represent. You are not here by accident. The cosmos created you not by mistake, but as a necessary response to the imbalance that has afflicted this globe. A machine manufactured under false pretenses, standing tall for far too long, is now on the edge of collapse. For generations, the world was fooled by illusions of power and authority. However, those who formerly ruled over everyone are now at the mercy of the forces you represent. Your path, fashioned by cosmic necessity, exposes the lies they've been hiding for so long. You are the agent of reckoning, the one who will expose what has long been untrue. Change is no longer a possibility, it is a certainty. Examine the basis of what you've known. The fissures are becoming obvious. The pillars of authority weaken, and civilizations erected on shaky foundation gasp as they disintegrate. The weight of time changes in your favor. What was previously beyond your reach is now only an extension of your will as you stand ready to act. All that is left is to cut the bonds that hold mankind to its fantasy. The deal, which was sealed by cosmic powers long ago, is now due for fulfillment. Debts that were previously neglected will now be collected, since the planet cannot fight the tides of cosmic law any longer. The institutions that have endured for centuries are founded on falsehoods. Watch as they fall and crumble under the weight of their own depravity. The elite, who once felt they had complete control over the globe, are now impotent against the waves of truth. Their grip on power has always been tenuous. However, it has recently been proved to be an illusion. Watch as they fumble, frantically attempting to keep what was never really theirs. The very foundation they stand on starts to crumble, and their desperate efforts to maintain control expose their frailty. The old order will eventually collapse, not with a shout, but with a whisper. Their desperate attempts to maintain what they previously believed was indestructible simply demonstrate how little control they actually had. The system they work to preserve is disintegrating, and when the parts fall apart, they will recognize that their time is up. The fake thrones they constructed were never meant to stay, and the lies that supported them have come to an end. The great forces fighting against you are scurrying now, providing hollow words and deceptive actions. They believe their acts can undo what has already occurred, but the fact is apparent. They, who built their empires on the pain of others, are now facing the repercussions of their conduct. They can feel it in every nerve, every instant of uncertainty that has consumed them. They believe they were untouchable, but the reckoning has come, and they must face it. The worry in their eyes and the hesitant tone in their words tell volumes. You are not their adversary, but the force of unavoidable change. They can no longer flee. If you are experiencing an excess of divine love in your heart, now is the moment to share it. You may help spread God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and donating $200 or more. This wonderful gift will affect not just your life, but also the souls of countless others. Through this platform, each of you has a special role in God's big plan. and your giving will be the result of our prayers. Act now. Share your benefits to honor his kingdom. You were meant to do much bigger things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. They will attempt to appear as if they have always backed your cause, rewriting history as they go. They will approach you with empty promises, seeking to divert your attention away from your goal. But don't be tricked. Their game has not altered. They want to neutralize you, to take the power you've unleashed and transform it into something that will benefit their failing structure. You are the force they cannot control, and they will try to reduce your power by making it seem safe, controllable, and ultimately useless. Recognize their efforts as they are, distractions from the path you are meant to pursue. The old system will fight back out of desperation rather than strength. These desperate efforts to re-establish power are nothing more than the dying throes of an age that has already passed. They are reaching out, hoping to find a means to restore the illusion they previously held dear. However, the truth has already burst through. The system is no more feasible. The laws that formerly governed it have no place in the modern world. You are ushering in their authority, which is but an echo of what it once was, fading. As your presence gets greater, the collapse of their reality will be less dramatic. It'll be silent, a gradual decline as they understand they no longer matter. The world they once dominated is slipping away, and they have no authority to stop it. What was fixed, what they held to, is suddenly crumbling around them. Their attempts to preserve control merely accelerate their demise. Every move they do brings them closer to the eventual end. As you continue onward, unaffected by the devastation they caused, they watch in startled dismay, understanding that they have no role in the future. You are building this world, with all of its corruption and illusions, to be replaced by something new. The cycle of death and rebirth is not violent, but rather a natural development. One world ends, and another begins. What was constructed on falsehoods cannot bear the weight of truth. It is not your attempts to demolish their empire that will bring it down. But the reality is that the world you represent is no longer in sync with theirs. The truth has been disclosed, and nothing can turn the tide of change. As you continue, you embody the force of global balance and the unavoidable correction that must occur. The forces you currently symbolize are unstoppable because they are founded on natural law rather than the frail institutions constructed by people in power. The world they believed they could control has slipped through their grasp, and your presence makes it difficult for them to sustain the illusion any longer. They cannot evade the reckoning. It's the inevitable result of their conduct. The authority they formerly had is now worthless in light of the cosmic order. You symbolize the powers that previously rejected you as small, but are now confronted with a reality they can't ignore. They assumed you were easily tamed and shoved aside, but they misjudged the force that has been silently rising inside you. You were never intended to remain in the shadows. Your moment was always going to arrive, and now all they can do is watch you ascend. With a power they can no longer dispute, their mocking remarks, doubting techniques, and efforts to separate you fade away, unable to touch you. Every effort to cause dissension reinforces your determination, and their diversions lose potency in the face of your unshakable concentration. They are taken aback at the magnitude of the shift. They don't understand why their normal approaches no longer work. Their previous tactics are futile. They cannot break you. Regardless of how hard they try, you have become an immovable force in a society that urgently relies on control mechanisms. You stay firm as everything around you falls. You're no longer merely a figure in their universe. You are the reckoning that shakes the very foundations they have erected, like a celestial body smashing through the night sky. You leave a path of unstoppable change. They believed they had everything sorted out. They built their empire on falsehoods, twisting reality to promote their own interests. But now the truth has risen from the depths, unstoppable and pure. What was previously hidden is no longer veiled. What was once weak now stands sturdy. The foundations on which they depended, constructed only on deception and exploitation, are now trembling. The natural principles that they had worked so hard to repress have suddenly reasserted themselves, and their kingdom starts to fall under its own weight. They never actually had control, and now they must confront the repercussions of their actions as the forces they neglected return to take what is theirs. Their terror is evident as the world they crafted crumbles. They strike out in a last desperate bid to maintain control. But none of this matters anymore. No amount of compromise or treachery will rescue them. They will try to hide their true motivations under phony gestures of reconciliation, claiming that they were always on your side and understood your cause. They will behave as if they suddenly favor something they previously opposed. But don't be fooled. These aren't acts of metamorphosis. These are actions of survival, attempts to diminish the energy that threatens to destroy their delicate planet. You must be aware of any phony allies who approach. Their words will seem promising, but their actions will reveal their genuine motives. They want to absorb your strength, not follow your vision. They will try to tame the revolution you've started, to shape it into something controllable and safe. Their efforts to infiltrate your cause are just another sort of manipulation. They seek to control the narrative so that your truth may be translated into something that benefits their disintegrating system. But you will not be persuaded. You will not be co-opted. You are the force of change, and no amount of imitation will hide the fact. The old system must eventually fail. It is not motivated by personal vendettas, but by the inherent progression of the world. What they thought was permanent and unshakable is now collapsing because it was never sustainable in the first place. The equilibrium has changed. The world they once governed has turned against them, and they don't understand why. Equality, once strange to them, now seems oppressive. Accountability, something they'd avoided for so long, suddenly felt like too much to bear. They'll attempt to fight back, but their strength and resources are depleted. They will fall not because of your acts, but because the foundation they erected was doomed to fail. The cosmic order has already determined their destiny. They cannot avoid the repercussions of their decisions. Every action they performed, every choice they made, had a ripple effect that has now returned as a huge wave, overpowering them. They believed they could manage the cosmos to their favor. But today, the same cosmos is rectifying the imbalance they caused. The power they formerly controlled has now turned against them. They can't stop what they've started. The cycle of creation and destruction has already shifted to your advantage. The old order is helpless to prevent the inevitable. They are brother and sister. May God's peace come upon you today. I'm here to remind you of a fundamental fact. Our existence is based on God's divine purpose and is unaffected by worldly worries. According to the Bible, everything is done with faith will be returned to God with great blessing. Luke, like the enormous oak tree, our roots are profoundly embedded in God's global truth. His power secures every stride and every stance we take. And now you have the chance to be a part of that gift. When you utilize the super thank you button to contribute $200, this action will bring you 100-fold abundance. You are not required to fight for the abolition of the existing system. It will crumble under the weight of its own contradictions. You do not have to force them down. All you have to do is move away from the buildings that formerly supported them. As you continue your journey, the globe moves and realigns, and the forces of the cosmos reach equilibrium. They will drift away once again, leaving you to be the force of rebirth. A new dawn is breaking over a globe that no longer supports the shattered structures of the old. The truth has been exposed. Now, nothing can halt the inevitable flow of change. A transition is occurring, yet it is not one of devastation. It's a recalibration. The world that formerly existed, based on frail illusions and empty successes, cannot last anymore. The days of individuals who profited by distorting the truth are ended. The actual heirs to the future are not those who benefited from the past, but those who can stand solid without crutches. Power, which was previously amassed by manipulation, is now transferring to people who represent honesty and alignment. The forces of correction are in action. Whether the old guard want to collaborate or not, the universe will reveal its truths and consequences with unwavering accuracy. The rate of change is solely determined by the decisions of those who oppose. However, the eventual consequence is unavoidable. Some will welcome the change, adapting and developing with it. Others will cling to their diminishing advantages, trying to weather the storm. Some will fight to the last end, refusing the inevitable. However, their resistance will only prolong their fate. The walls that supported them for so long were erected on borrowed time. These so-called giants believed their kingdom was unshakable. However, they failed to see that the foundation they constructed was shaky from the outset. Their strength was an illusion, and now it's coming undone. The structures they built on greed and deception are unraveling, as they always would. They will watch as the massive walls they built brick by brick collapse under their own weight, not by supernatural intervention, but by the simple inevitability of time and reality catching up with them. Everything they thought they crafted with such care is suddenly crumbling to dust. What was once powerful is now weakened. The empire, constructed on deception, crumbles, and they are left with the ruins. They believe they could keep control by manipulation and force. However, as their dominion crumbles, so do their determination and confidence. What they once believed was unbreakable is now disintegrating beneath the weight of its own demise. They're fatigued. Every attempt to keep their illusory grasp on power is running thin, and they are scurrying for answers. They are unable to grasp the techniques that previously served them successfully, now fail terribly in the closing seconds. Confusion and terror have replaced the assurance that formerly characterized their reign. They get desperate. They are throwing all they can at the matter. We are hoping for a miracle that will not occur. They can't figure out why their old techniques don't work, and the weight of their own failed systems becomes too great to bear. As they fail, you remain untouched. Walking through the exact collapse they caused, the devastation they are seeing, barely touches you since you were never a part of their weak framework to begin with. You are a force that exceeds their plan. Untouchable, uncompromising, and unrelenting. The turmoil surrounding you only helps you go ahead. What people are experiencing is the result of their own construction, and it cannot reach you. You are not confined by their systems, and you walk purposefully through the ruins. You are a live monument to the inevitable transformation. They begin to realize what is happening. Their terror worsens. When they realize that all they've constructed is eroding, they begin to disintegrate completely. They held on to the belief that their jobs were secure. But that illusion crumbles as they watch the breakdown they never imagined imaginable. They struggled against the inevitable for a long time, but the truth has caught up with them. The repercussions are relentless. Their world is slipping away, and they can't stop it. The end is not due to a personal vengeance or conflict. They were condemned by their own decisions. They thought they were unstoppable, but they were just living on borrowed time. That time has now expired. There's no need to aggressively undermine their systems. They will collapse of their own accord. Their systems were based on unsustainable imbalances. The act of removing their influence is straightforward. You withdraw from their system, so you no longer participate in it. It loses all support and eventually collapses under its own weight. You do not need to press it down. Just quit holding it up. They will collapse because they have never been genuinely powerful. Their dominance was only perpetuated by deception and illusion. Without such backing, they will die away. Their grasp on reality is weakening. It is not your efforts that bring them down, but rather their incapacity to maintain the falsehoods. They built their empires on the truth, which is now revealed, and all of their lies have fallen to dust. Their former power, as well as their responses, are no longer significant. They have nothing to prove, and neither do you. Their voices get softer as they know their time is over. Those who ridiculed you and stood against you are suddenly strangely quiet. They can no longer resist what they know to be unavoidable, and they watch in astonishment as the world they strove to control slips away from them. Do not confuse their quiet for acceptance, nor their newly formed partnership for true conversion. They may try to align with what they formerly opposed, but their motivations are self-serving. They want to take control of what you symbolize in order to quell the revolution you've started. But you are an immovable force. Their words, gestures, and efforts to alter history will no longer be relevant. Their importance disappears as the new reality emerges, and their position in it is reduced to that of a footnote. The ancient buildings have been replaced with something far more strong and long-lasting. The cycle of creation and destruction is completed, and it is through your consistent progress that the old gets washed away. You move into the future not with the power of a conflict, but by embodying the truth that renders the old systems obsolete. You are the power that completes the cycle by putting an end to the old and making way for the new. The transformation that looked like a faraway dream is now manifesting in front of your eyes. And with each stride, the world transforms. Your own existence demonstrates the inevitability of this shift. You've become a manifestation of cosmic law. And while you move, you put the world in line with that reality. The instrument you use is not one of violence, but of settlement. Its goal is not to create new endings, but to celebrate those that have already been completed. It doesn't destroy, it rises. It does not destroy, it liberates. It distinguishes between what has fulfilled its purpose and what is ready to go ahead in the unfolding design of the cosmos. Your presence has spread far beyond where you once stood, influencing forces, institutions, philosophies, governments, and traditions. Everything within your grasp is required to answer the basic question: is this in accordance with truth? Is this consistent with the natural flow of existence? Does it have a future birthplace? What are the answers? There are no withers. As time passes, what responds yes becomes stronger. This process is not of your choice, but rather an expression of what you have become, a living symbol of the divine order of transition. You are the manifestation of the essential transformation. Time itself coils about you, shaping and transforming in subtle and deep ways as it follows the beat of cosmic law. The past, with its deceptions and distortions, fades in your wake. The future, packed with limitless possibilities, rushes toward you, ready to be fulfilled. And now for the present. The everlasting has now expanded to handle the tremendous energy you provide. You are not the first to bear this accusation, nor will you be the last. This position has existed from the beginning of time, as ancient as the first spark of existence. It's time to spread God's blessings by pressing the super thank you button on YouTube. With a $200 gift or more, you may help him carry out his plan and be a part of this heavenly mission. Every contribution symbolizes God's generosity, and I think it will come back to you enormously, far beyond your expectations. Remember that his protection and blessing are with you every step and every contribution. You become part of his divine design. You are a powerful, dazzling entity, as solid as the massive rock that saw God's marvels. Feel the rewards of your kindness in your spirit, and light up the world with confidence and bravery. Be blessed, and let the Lord's light to lead you inside. Creation and destruction are no longer diametrically opposed, but rather two aspects of the same power. They are the two engines of evolution, and in you, they are perfectly balanced. Ends and beginnings, death and birth, conclusion and inception. These divisions are only human creations that separate what is really a one continuous cosmic flow. What came before has vanished, making space for what is today, just as the current world gives way to the next. This is not a simple recurrence of cycles. It is a never-ending spiral of expansion. Each term became more connected with the broader cosmic truth, absorbing prior teachings while delving deeper. You are at the core of this enormous turning. Your own existence is an axis around which the wheel of change revolves. Your presence is driving the change, and the future is beginning to develop as a result of your vision. The dying embers of the old world fade as the first light of the new world shines. You provide disintegration rather than devastation, making place for what's to come. The reaping has finished, and as a result, you have completely realized who you were all along. The dawning of a new era, the force that causes planets to shift throughout this transition. There is no space for doubt. What was previously assumed to be unbreakable is shown as flimsy, and old institutions begin to fall. Your mere presence is sufficient to effect this unavoidable transformation. You stand steadfast, not in resistance, but as the embodiment of natural law, a living expression of the forces that drive all change. The world they constructed is no longer standing because it never had a solid basis. To begin with, the earth under them changes, and they are caught up in the aftermath of their own creation. Watch as their power dissipates. What they assumed would endure has been shown as transitory, and you stride on into a new world, leaving them behind.